My name is Tory Smith. I'm a general contractor. I've been working with a small family-owned business, contracting business for the last 10 years, doing all types of general construction. And I saw these tiny homes a couple of years ago and absolutely fell in love with them, and just started doing these a couple of years ago. This is actually the second of these tiny homes that I've done. So the tiny houses are somewhat of a movement that's been going on over the last few years and has been kind of catching on. It's something that was in response to, someone wanting to build a smaller house, have a smaller imprint, and the township that he was in wouldn't allow him to do it, so he put it on a trailer, and it's kind of grown from that. It works perfect for a lot of different ways and a lot of different reasons. You can put them, they can be guest houses, it can be camp houses. Some people are using them for their actual permanent house. I think it really fits in with the environmental movement and lessening your impact, your footprint on the earth. It's crazy the amount of resources that we're using, and this is something that actually kind of forces you to get out and interact more with your community and kind of pare down your life, get rid of things, and start living life more rather than spending all your time and resources filling up a home with things that you don't necessarily need. So this actual house is, it's basically 160 square feet. It's 20 feet long by roughly 8 feet wide, and it's actually 13.5 high, which is the legal, 13.6 is actually the legal limits to be able to drive on the highway. So it's actually road legal. You don't have to have any special permits to pull it. It's built on a 10,000 pound GVW trailer, and we built it out a little bit actually over the actual width of the trailer to max out the actual size of the house. It's got a small loft on the interior, which adds about 30 or 40 square feet as far as livable space. So it's about 200 square feet of usable space, but the actual trailer itself is right around 160, so it's probably smaller than most people's bedrooms. On this one, we actually put a little 3-foot porch on the exterior of that. It does not move with the trailer itself, so that adds a little bit to it and adds a little bit different dimension to the house. It's a shift in the paradigm of thinking and the way you build. A lot of the times in a normal construction, you're not thinking about the weight of something or the height of something. This actually has to fit where you can put it on a trailer and go on a road. So, and everything is smaller and more compact. The doors and the windows you have to be mindful of. The height of the roof on the inside is not your typical 8-foot roof, so there's little intricacies like that you kind of have to think about. Even with the porch here, and it's basically in the exact spot that it can be. It can't go any higher or lower to fit the slope of the roof. So it's a lot of dimensions and things like that you're constantly kind of having to think about that you normally wouldn't have to consider in normal construction. So here we are on the inside of the house, and as you can see, there's a small a loft space. It's 8 foot long by like the width of the house by 8 foot wide. The cool thing about this design is it's got a dormer, a shed dormer in the middle, so it opens up some space here, and which actually really helps with your head space up in the loft. But it's fully, like I said earlier, it's got plumbing, it's hooked into water, it's got electrical, as you can see. We've got a small propane stove. There's a small mini refrigerator. We've got a little wood stove here that's not connected yet, but that will be coming out right here. That's perfect for this space. So this actual stove is, as you can see, it's tiny. It's a kind of a micro stove, which actually fits perfectly for the micro tiny house. It actually came from the UK, and it doesn't, as you can imagine, it doesn't take much to heat up this space. A huge wood stove would just completely burn you out of here. So this one's perfect. I think it's got little 8 or 10-inch logs that go in here, and you might have a little space here for a teapot, but it's perfect for the small house. It will have the chimney piece that will come, and it actually will go out the wall here, and then the chimney will actually go up and above the roof line from the exterior. So that actually also saves you space from having an actual chimney here inside the the space, and then going through, not having to go through the roof and that kind of thing. So this will actually get connected here in the next couple days. So this is just the temporary ladder for right now. There'll actually be a nice oak hardwood ladder with the steps will be a little bit closer together. This is just something to use right now. So yeah, this will all be open kitchen and kind of living space, and then once the ladder and everything is ready, there'll be a bar here to connect that to. It'll have a little hook on it, so the ladder will actually hook on right here, and you can climb up and down whenever you need to at night, and then during the day you can remove the ladder, put it over in this space so it's out of the way. You have a nice open, clear spot to be able to use and interact with the house during the daytime. Coming back here into this area, we've got a small bathroom. There's a composting toilet here that obviously is not hooked up yet, but it will have a vent that comes out, so that obviously to deal with any smells that might come from it. But it's a great addition to this house. You don't have to worry about a septic, and it's kind of closing the loop. It's actually using our waste and being able to put that back into the environment in a way that is economically and ecologically sound, instead of poisoning and polluting the way that our septics and all that kind of stuff does. So this is a great addition to this house. So this is the shower. It's got a full 3x3 shower. It's a little bit bigger than you would think of in a small, you've probably seen the recreational vehicles and tiny little things that you can barely move around in. So this one's got a ton of space. It's got a little micro thin veneer slate. So it's actual slate material, but it's super thin and very lightweight, which is perfect for this kind of application. And then it's obviously connected into to the water, and so it's got the ability to take a shower. And then you've got the composting toilet right on the other side of it here. All of the water and the electrical, everything in the house is basically set up like an RV. It has a water connection on the exterior of the house, and then it's basically, the plumbing is run just like it would be in a normal house. There's copper piping. There's a small 10-gallon heater, water heater on the underneath here. So it's basically connected just like an RV would be. Same thing with the electrical. It's got a 30 amp electrical outlet, and it's got a small fuse box here on the interior for all the electrical, which would be connected to an outside source. So you could actually, if you wanted to, you could pull these up to a campground and connect it just like you would an Airstream or anything like that. And then I think for these guys down the line, the potential is to connect it into some sort of solar panel and that kind of thing, so that they are completely off of the grid, which you have that capability to do at some point. But right now they're connected to their actual exterior of another house here. So, and the stove is propane. So that's the only part that's propane here. It's got a small propane connection that will go out to the exterior of the house, and got the ability to cook. Here's a small pantry here, and then there's going to be a small little closet in this area here, and then there's going to be a small storage loft here that we'll actually have finished off, and there'll be small doors, so there's plenty of space, and everything is utilized just so that we have everything's exactly in the right space. You can see what I was kind of talking about with the dimensions. I mean, the doors just fit in these spaces. There's a small little seating area here with a bench that's actually gonna fold up, so there'll actually be more storage underneath the bench. And this is actually an old reclaimed church pew. And an interesting, cool thing about this specific house is all the siding is it's all old reclaimed organ wood from the owner. He had a ton of old, it's probably 100 years old. It's been removed from old pipe organs that we had milled down, planed, and so we were able to reuse a lot of that. And that goes the same thing for the cabinets. The cabinets are all built from scratch, and it's reclaimed wood. When you get in here, you realize that you have a lot more room than you really think. You think of 160 square feet, but every single inch of the place is used for for either storage, and there's plenty of space to move around, plenty of place to to have people over, and like I said, plenty of kitchen and cabinet space, and then the loft, like I said, is big enough for like a queen size mattress, so it's perfect. The cost of them really varies. I've seen them anywhere from 20 to to 50,000 depending on the size. You can go a lot smaller than this. If you were to use all reclaimed materials, you could obviously diminish the cost pretty considerably. Fortunately, we were able to use some reclaimed wood for the bench and the walls and the cabinetry and some of that stuff. We've got nice, insulated, Anderson windows, and we used cedar as the exterior, which is, is great for rot resistance and bug resistance and that kind of thing. So we use some nice materials, and that's one of the great things about these houses. I mean, you shrink your footprint, and then you use nicer materials and things to put into them, and make sure that it's going to be something that you're proud of and that it's going to last. So like I said, the cost can vary quite a bit depending on what the materials are that you're using. To build one of these from start to finish, it really all depends on the finishes and the things that you're using. I actually built this one alone by myself as well, so that kind of figures into it. But roughly for me, it's about 3 to 4 month process, and that's a full-time work. It's fully outfitted with electrical and plumbing and all of those things. So you could probably pare that down a little bit if you were not going so detailed with it. But that's roughly the time frame, probably 3 to 4 months. And like I said, if someone were to build one of these and doing it on their time, obviously that would get stretched out. But me focusing on it right around 4 months from the time I actually got the trailer to the finished stage. If you look at the way that building and construction has been going, it's this huge McMansions and bigger and all these things, and I think you can't really get much smaller as far as your footprint goes in this. Like I said, it's 160 square feet. Everything is designed to have as little waste as possible. You use exactly what you need. You're not using near the resources that you are in typical construction. So. And then you go into the heating and cooling and the actual maintenance and all of the things that would go into a house down the road 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and you're saving on cost and your footprint there as well. So it's a huge I guess reduction in the way that we look at how we interact with our environment and the way that we the built environment is one of the biggest things that we waste in our society today. I mean, it's something like in the neighborhood of 40 to 60% of pollution and CO2 and all those things that that we are realizing that aren't really working for us. So something like this is just a huge reduction in that.
We just got married, and this was our house that we were going to spend our honeymoon night in.
Different ways and a lot of different reasons. You can put them, they can be guest houses, it can be camp houses. Some people are using them for their actual permanent house. I think it really fits in with the environmental movement and lessening your impact, your footprint on the earth. It's crazy the amount of resources that we're using, and this is something that actually kind of forces you to get out and interact more with your community and kind of pare down your life that I've done. So the tiny houses are somewhat of a movement that's been going on over the last few years and has been kind of catching on. It's something that was in response to, someone wanting to build a smaller house, have a smaller imprint, and the township that he was in wouldn't allow him to do it. So he put it on a trailer, and it's kind of grown from that. It works perfect for a lot of life. Get rid of things and start living life more rather than spending all your time and resources filling up a home with things that you don't necessarily need. So this actual house is, it's basically 160 square feet. It's 20 feet long by roughly 8 feet wide, and it's actually 13.5 high, which is the legal. 13.6 is actually the legal limits to be able to drive on the highway. So it's actually road legal. You don't have to have any special permits to pull it. It's built on a 10,000 pound GVW trailer. And we built it out a little bit actually over the actual width of the trailer to max out the actual size of the house. It's got a small loft on the interior, which adds about 30 or 40 square feet. My name is Tory Smith. I'm a general contractor. I've been working with a small family-owned business, contracting business for the last 10 years, doing all types of general construction. And I saw these tiny homes a couple of years ago and absolutely fell in love with them, and just started doing these a couple of years ago. This is actually the second of these tiny homes that